This ritual transmission is about the full moon in Aquarius. It happens on August 1st, 11:32 a.m. Pacific time. I will talk about two things I saw at the core of this lunation that happens on Tuesday, and a couple connections like I always do on my videos, and whatever else comes through. If you're new to this channel, my name is Nicholas Polymonakos, aka Sparkles of Gold. Welcome. Let's put up the chart and let's start talking about it. Here is the chart, 11:31 and 40 seconds a.m. Pacific time on August 1st. I live on the Pacific coast, so this is why it looks this way. I'll put my annotator here to show you. Here's the sun at 9 degrees Leo, which Leo right now is in a fascinating, deep, profound story. If you haven't heard about it by now, about Venus being in Leo here at this point, it's at 26 degrees retrograde, and we'll clear this out. We'll also show the moon in Aquarius at 9 degrees, and here's the sun at 9. They're directly opposite of each other. This is 180 degrees. This is what they call an opposition, and this is what they call a full moon. Now, I will bring up something here that when we look at full moons in general every month, we always should think about 6 months beforehand. When the new moon happened, and in this case, when the new moon happened in Aquarius, I will show you this chart really quick. And here is the new moon here. This was January 21st, 2023 at 12:53 p.m. You could see that the new moon happened at 1 degree Aquarius here. You could see it here, Venus and Saturn. This is interesting. They were together in the sky. But I want to point something out here, is Pluto was at 28 degrees and not retrograde. It was at the very tail end before March. It was going to go into Aquarius. I'm pointing this out just because I like to do things like this. And just a couple other things. Let's just go back. We have Mars in Gemini. Remember that? That happened in the beginning of the year. That was coming out of the retrograde place. We had Uranus at 14 degrees here. We had Jupiter that was just back into Aries at 4. The nodes were at 9 degrees. All right. So, okay, we did that. Let's erase that. Let's put back the other chart of this actual full moon 6 months later at 9 degrees. Now, yes, it's a story about space and independence, how one participates in the collective as an independent individual. That is the Aquarius story, and the story that happens with Venus and Aquarius, how they play off of this type of thing, both being in fixed signs. And yes, Venus is in Leo right now, but most importantly, I will tell you about the backing stage, the pillars of this full moon that I think are very important. And it actually has to do with one thing off the bat that I think is hard. And that is the planet Mercury that has just entered the sign of Virgo recently, here at 5 degrees Virgo, is directly opposite Saturn and Pisces. This is an opposition. Mercury, Saturn. Why am I bringing this up is because inherently Aquarius, they are ruled by Saturn. And I went to go look at where Saturn is in this chart, and Saturn's in Pisces, and it's having this opposition 180 degrees from Mercury. Here now, Mercury and Saturn are having a standoff. If you've watched my video here recently, I did a major Mars and Virgo video about a week and a half ago. I'll put it up here. You can link to it. Recently, Mars was in an opposition with Saturn, and now Mercury is. And so here's a chapter in this story. Now Mercury here in in Virgo is at home there. It flows there. We like Mercury being in Virgo. We like the detailed to-do list flow of when Mercury's brain is flowing through Virgo, and things are precise, things are critically looked at, things are brought to perfection inherently. But this isn't the case right now, because Saturn is opposite Mercury during this full moon, and here that thought process, that detailed process of Mercury and Virgo hits a wall, just like Mars did not too long ago. And here is where I think a lot of times, because Saturn and Mercury, the way it happens, one way this can play out is there's a stalemate in the mind, or what is in the mind gets thrown off course. I'm going to stop there because I will go into bigger detail on this. I also want to bring up something else, something that's incredible too. And the fact is that here, Jupiter is at 13 degrees Taurus, and it's trining here Mars in Virgo at 13 degrees. So this full moon really is a Virgo style of things. Virgo is pretty much the inherent sign and player, in a sense, the energy in this lunation. Now, it sounds weird, doesn't it? Because it's a Leo sun and Aquarius full moon, but we're looking to the ruler of things, and we're looking for what's the imprint of this day. Now, I mentioned the trine, but I'm going to go back to talking about Mercury, Saturn here. And here I have a couple things for you to look up on the screen to keep it. So Mercury in Virgo opposing Saturn and Pisces at 5 degrees, okay? Then we have Mars in Virgo trine Jupiter and Taurus. Now, opposition Mercury, Saturn, trine, harmonious flow and connection between Jupiter and Mars. But I will start with here is a possible way of looking at this. So critical thoughts happen here, and when these thoughts, the critical ones, Mercury and Virgo, hit the Saturn wall, there are rules and limitations involved, and I personally think this can lead to dark thoughts, dark ways of thinking, negative thought patterns, negative connotations. And here is where it can get funky for people, especially if they have Virgo planets, they have Piscean planets, right? And all this, because it's like this has been brewing for a while, and because Mars has passed over this and created this opposition, now Mercury's there doing it, and there's frustration here. There's a type of a heavy weight on one's mind, Mercury and Virgo's mind here, and what it wants to do, and its plan that it has, and it wants to implement the plan with its mind that Mars and Virgo has already started and already passed Saturn. And it's starting to feel, I'm on it again. I could do this. But here, Mercury hits the wall with Saturn. And here, I just want to point out, like I wrote here, critical thoughts, negative mind with no limits. No limits, Pisces stuff here. So there isn't a safe container at first, right? In the opposition for the mind, and it just goes dark. Now, the way you want to use oppositions is to bring both sides, Mercury, Saturn, and balance the two and bring them together. And that's why I have here on the screen for words that says solution, structure thoughts into practice. Because practice and work is a Saturnian thing, and actually it's a Virgo thing in its own way of needing a system and a way of doing things that's practical and precise and on schedule. And if you can balance that Mercury and Virgo and the Saturn and Pisces, then the mind has a workable container to work through to eventually get to that goal and vision or aspiration that, in a sense, the Saturn and Pisces wants. It just wants tighter rules, a tighter a way of doing things. But here, as a superb piece of support, I'll bring in the other part here is Mars and Virgo trine Jupiter and Taurus at 13 degrees. Now, here is the other part of a Virgo story, and it's amazing because here now, Mars likes to take action, is courageous, is of the will, it takes risks, and it runs on instinct, and it's running, that engine, that power is running through the Virgo filter. Remember, it wasn't too long ago, it was a week and a half ago or whatever it was, that Mars hit Saturn. Now, Jupiter and Taurus and Mars are in this amazing relationship with each other. And it's the type of thing where I wrote here, I said, the courageous way to what is right. Courageous Mars to what is right. Right is the ethical code a lot of times that Jupiter runs on. It's philosophical quest and its higher truth that it adheres to. And so that's why I wrote, to keep it simple, the courageous way to what is right. To what is right for the two. So the Mars is the engine in Virgo, and it's a systems it's working through, but it's for the higher aspiration, right? And I also wrote here, because on an energetic level, this is huge. When you get Mars and Jupiter together, it feels boundless, the energy. It feels like, I wrote here, unlimited energy to fulfill a vision. Unlimited in the sense Jupiter. Energy being Mars. Vision being Jupiter. right? So a little hint for you here for this full moon. I will bring in one more thing here about Mars Jupiter. This physical energy, it can be if you have prominent placements in the Virgo part of your chart or the Taurus parts of your chart. They're trine because they're in both earth signs. And so there's actually an organic sacredness to this all, actually. A more earthbound, in your body, embodied approach to using this unlimited energy source of getting this Virgo story to move forward. Now, it's wild, huh? You have a Mercury-Saturn opposition that's happening at the same time, the same day that Saturn's ruling the Aquarius full moon. But then you have Mars and Jupiter here. So you could see here how there's a tug, a push and pull of things. But we want to have the Mercury and Virgo mind come together with the Mars and Virgo and the Jupiter and Taurus body. And that's what we can say embodied approach, a workable structure to get everything out of the mind into the negative thought processes past that area and to bring it in through your body, through your hands to construct something. Do you have to make a collage? Do you have to write something? Do you have to go build something through your hands, through your physical posture? And if you can't do that, can you at least find what is ethically and what is right for you right here? And this all plays in this full moon in Aquarius in the sense of how one is gauging their independence, their autonomy, and the right to be autonomous. Interesting thing here is I think Leo and Aquarius have the commonality of expression of just how the autonomy happens. They're both deal with, in a sense, a subject matter of self. Fire sign Leo is expression of self, core energy of ego. And then we have this air sign of Aquarius that demands space and autonomy for one's own mind and identity to be processed and to differentiate itself from the normal. So in a sense, they're both needing to express autonomy and freedom in their expression. It's just done in different ways, but they have that in common. So that's the base part of this full moon. But Saturn ruling here in Pisces, ruling Aquarius. Now you can see why I brought in the two other major factors in this. One other thing I will point out, because it's such a huge deal, is that Pluto is still at 28 degrees Capricorn and it's squaring the nodes. And this is in the backdrop here. This is in the backdrop for this lunation. But you know what? It's in the backdrop for most of the year, honestly, because as Pluto's going backwards here, the nodes go backwards too. So Pluto's going to be squaring the nodes all the way into the fall. So this is just the deal that you have to accept this. It isn't just this on this full moon. It's a backdrop all the way to fall into wintertime, basically, and some harsher transits that are going to come down the line. But my opinion inherently with all this, it's about autonomy and your plan about how you deal with your expression. If we bring in the Venus and Leo story here and what's happening, this is in the center point of all this, because we know I did a Venus and Leo video. I can put the thing here. You can read about it. This is part of it too, but we're in a very Virgo focused way on this full moon. And it is very important, however you do create and express yourself, to have a map and a vision of things and to have a way of doing it. And when you get into places where it's stuck, how can you move that mental energy, that mental map that you want to create for this vision to occur, for the goal to be attained? And so I suggest some of the things that I had here. I'll put it one more time. Here's the Mars trine Jupiter, the courageous way to what is right. As one way you can look at this, unlimited energy towards a vision. And then, what the possible obstacle that happens here is, and I'll get to it right here, is the critical mind thoughts and negative thinking that happen with Saturn being opposite of Mercury, and then finding the way to switch and merge the two to find a crystallized version, a crystallized mind for Mercury and Virgo, a structured practice, little bit by little bit, repetitive motion, to get past that stalemate and to have the Mercury vision start to work. Remember, Mercury in Virgo is going to go retrograde here very soon. So some of the things you find here and challenges that you find during this lunation with Mercury, you're going to have a chance to actually implement them during the retrograde. And there's going to be problems, and there's going to be times it doesn't fall into place. But you already got a clue here with the full moon. You already have it. And if you start to work with it, the retrograde isn't going to seem so bad. As a matter of fact, I think you actually can get a lot of stuff done in the Virgo part of your chart. The details will be all over the place, but we love this stuff. Mercury, even though it'll be retrograde eventually in Virgo, it loves being there, and it'll actually get off on doing this. Get off on the problem solving. Get off on like putting the pieces all together so it flows. And remember, Virgo deals with purity in the end. It's a purification process. So if there's a bunch of hiccups in the mind here with this lunation, that's okay. And Mercury retrograde's coming up in Virgo, that's okay. Because you're just trying to figure out what needs to go, what needs to stay, and then what needs to elevate and move forward in an evolutionary process. And this is good. So I don't want people to panic when they see an opposition or things are heavy. I know for many of you that have fixed signs, you got fixed rising, right? You have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. We know that you're still dealing with stuff. We know there's Venus retrograde here now for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. It's already caused some interesting stuff and some gut checking going on. Mercury did a conjunction with when it was in Leo at the very end here, almost, like 5 days ago. So you have some progression here. Virgo is actually here to help the Leo story or anyone that has fixed stuff in their charts, fixed angles. Virgo is here to help. Take a look at it that way, all right? That is what I feel about this full moon and this lunation. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. I do live streams, all types of stuff. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. You know I'm straight up. You know I always give it to you, however mood that I'm in. You know my last live stream I did Friday was weird, and you accept that, and I love you for it, y'all. You message me, and y'all's fully supportive. I keep going. So I got another video make for the month of August. Check that out. They'll be coming out hopefully in the next 48 hours after this. Until next time, as always, what do I say, people? I'll see you on the next video.